Hello and welcome to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference December call. This month it is on self-care with Laura McDonald. As therapists, we help other people all the time. How do we help ourselves? Laura takes us through what self-care is, why it's important, and some tools and suggestions that you might want to implement. And there's also a discussion and Q&A. All of Laura's contact details are at the end of this, so if anyone wants to connect with Laura, all her details are there. Laura is both a hypnotherapist and a trainer in working recursive therapy. So I hope you enjoy the presentation, and all of Laura's contact details are at the very end for anyone who wants to connect with her.
So, self-care for therapists. Welcome to this talk. I hope you get some helpful information from it. We all know about self-care. We all know how important it is. We're very good at telling other people how to take care of themselves, but we rarely take that advice on board for ourselves. So we model balance and self-compassion in our work. So what message are we sending if we don't practice it ourselves? If you went into a therapist and they seemed all over the place, they were confused, they had extremely messy office, messy appearance, they looked like they hadn't washed in days, would you trust them to be able to help you with whatever you're going in for? You'd probably be a bit, dubious. You'd say, well, this person doesn't look like they can look after themselves, let alone help me. So it's so important as a therapist, as a human being naturally, but as a therapist as well, to make sure you mind, your body, and your soul. Mind, mental, physical, and emotional. We hold space for others, and this requires energy and emotional balance. Self-care ensures we bring our best selves to the session, and neglecting inner well-being can lead to burnout and reduced effectiveness. So we shouldn't have to think of it as a duty, but sometimes when it is put on us as a duty, we're more likely to practice self-care. So if we're doing it because we're going to be better for others, we're more likely to do it than we are for ourselves. Does that make sense? There's a feeling of selfishness around it. So if you say, all right, like I often say it to clients who are mothers, they'll say, oh, I don't have any time for myself. I say, well, what if I said taking time for yourself makes you a better mother? They're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. They'll do it more for others than themselves. So as a therapist, if you think of it as your duty to practice self-care, think of it as part of your job description, a non-negotiable, you're far more likely to carry on. Okay, so anyone here, what is your self-care routine? Does anyone have a self-care routine? Anyone want to type it in the chat or say it, or? And if not, why not?
I've been remiss now. That's what we were just talking about beforehand. I've been remiss with the volume of stuff that I've been doing. I just haven't made it, or continuously, I should say. So, and I know it's not the right thing to do.
So, is this a case of, say you had your self-care on a list somewhere, your list of things to do. When more things are added to that list, does it get pushed down? Or
Very
does it
much so.
stay? Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you think of it as, say, a client had emailed you and you knew you had to reply to that client, you were going to reply to that client before the next backlog of emails come in.
Yeah.
Because you have respect for that client. And if you miss that and deal with the new emails coming in, that client could get lost in the process. So think of it that way. If you put your self-care down the list, think of it as a business thing. It's something you have to do.
Yes.
So self-care, different things for each of us. Some people think of it as, oh, I have to take myself off to a spa. I don't have time for that. Or I have to go for a massage. It doesn't have to be any of these things. And of course, if it is, that's great. But when I'm talking about self-care each day, it could be 5 minutes between clients having a cup of coffee. Small things where you're taking time to, fill your cup at regular intervals so that you don't get to a stage where you can't take anymore. You don't get to that stage where you've had enough, you've got nothing left to give anyone. Small things here and there. It could be sitting down watching Netflix in the evenings without that guilty feeling. Oh, I can't be sitting here on the sofa. Why not? As long as you're not doing it all day, every day. Whatever self-care, whatever something like that means to you, if it makes you feel more relaxed, if it makes you feel, give you that escapism, especially with some of the things we have to listen to, then that counts as self-care. Other, self-care could be nutrition or prioritizing sleep, recreation, moving your body, taking time to, create, make things, or seeing friends. So anything at all that breaks the state of feeling stressed or on the way to burnout. Any other ideas of what could constitute as self-care? No, I'll carry on. So, as you can see, I think you can see all the tabs I have, can you? Which kind of defeats the purpose of the picture I've just put up. So I didn't think you'd see all them. I thought the large screen would work. But anyway, my mind is like an internet browser. 19 tabs open, 3 of them are frozen. I have no idea where the music is coming from.
Oh, now I just realized something. Laura, are there people trying to get in? Because you're in charge of the screen now.
Oh, yeah, just let them in.
Yeah. Sorry, you may see a few of that because there's still a few people
Okay,
coming. Apologies.
that's okay. I'll let them in. So, closing down the metaphorical tabs of your mind. Now, often I find writing lists helps with this because I will be thinking, right, I've got to do this and I've got to do this, and then I'll remember something else, and then someone will text me and I've got to do that, and then you get all confused and there's too much going on, and then you're already overwhelmed. So writing lists of everything that you need to be doing, you're probably doing this already. And then writing down, taking on the hardest thing first thing in the morning. So the thing on your list that you're dreading the most, or the thing on your list that's the hardest to do that first. You heard that saying, if it is your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. So anything that you see on your to-do list and you're thinking, oh God, I've got to do that, just do it first, get it out of the way. You've already won the day. Then everything else after that seems easier in comparison. So, as I was saying, how we show up matters. So when you are with a client, how do you present yourself? How do you show up? Do you make sure you're clean, smartly dressed? Do you make sure you've had a wash? So we often spend a lot of time making sure we look presentable, we look organized, but do we do the same with the inner work? So often in the mornings, if I'm getting ready, if I'm getting the kids ready and they're all fighting, it's going to affect my day with my clients because I'm going to get to work frazzled. So what do you do when that happens? What can you do to calm yourself down? What can you do to separate the two worlds that you're in, your home life and your work life? How do you prepare inwardly? What is the state of your mind as you enter the session? And why does it matter? How often do we actually recognize that our energy, not just our knowledge, affects the whole room? Have you ever noticed that if you're feeling low on energy or close to burnout, or maybe at the end of the day or the end of the week, that a client may be talking and you're maybe zoning out, or whatever they're saying could be triggering you? That's a surefire sign that there's not enough self-care, or there's stuff that's undealt with that's being brought up for you. So the inner work is more important than anything else. Working on yourself. And the ripple effect of neglecting self-care. A cluttered mind can lead to reduced focus and empathy. Neglecting your own needs creates emotional leakage into sessions. And if our own minds are a mess, how can we help others to clean theirs? We've always spoken about this, John. How can we sit
Yeah.
there and tell others, oh yeah, I've got all these techniques that you can do and it's really easy, but I don't do them. So we have the perfect tools, and we've got the perfect network of people around us to help us if we can't work on that for ourselves. So your health is the most important thing in your business. So you might hear practitioners saying, are we hypnotherapists first, or are we marketers, first? And I think the common answer is we're marketing people first and then we're therapists. But I think the most important thing is look after your health, then look after your marketing, then look after your therapy business. Because your health and well-being are the foundation of everything that you are. And if you don't make time for it now, you might need to make time for it later. Sorry, these slides are slow.
That's a really
So,
interesting point. That's a really,
yeah,
because like you've heard me say many times that we are self-employed, we are a business, but we're self-employed, so we rely on ourselves. So if we
yeah,
don't take care of ourselves,
no one else is going to do it.
there's no one to run the business, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, future pace, how will I feel in 1 hour if I do or do not do this practice of choice? So one thing I do every day, every morning, I go back to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning and I lift weights. And I don't bounce out of bed doing, really excited to do that. It's a chore. I love my sleep. And I'm not one to naturally, I'm not one of the early bird people like my husband would be. I would, if I had a choice, probably sleep until 10 o'clock. But I can't, obviously. So when I wake up in the mornings, most of the time I'm like, oh God, would it be okay if I just had one lie in? I can miss a day. It doesn't really matter. This is most mornings. But then I say, how am I in 1 hour's time? I'm going to be really annoyed that I didn't go in, or I'm going to go in, do the workout, and walk out elated. So in that moment of not wanting to do it, I shoot my mind forward for a little bit and say, how am I going to feel in an hour if I do or don't do this? And this is something I do with clients as well. Like say someone is they can't stop eating sweet stuff, and they'll say to me, Laura, I'm sitting there on the couch in the evening, the biscuits are calling, and I say, yeah, but you've got a choice in that moment. You know, after eating the biscuits, how you're going to feel. You felt it before. You felt guilty. You felt angry. You felt upset. All these emotions that come into your mind because you just wanted that instant moment of gratification. Whereas if you resist and have that awareness of how you're going to feel in an hour or the next day, if you don't do it, that's what you need to do. So how are you going to feel tomorrow morning if you wake up and you didn't have the biscuits? You're going to feel so proud of yourself. So it's hard. Like, it's discipline. Self-care is discipline, but you have to work at it. So think about how you're going to feel in an hour or in a day or in a week if you do or don't do the thing that you want to do, and make yourself do it. And once you start doing things that make you feel good, you will start to not crave them, but you will start to look forward to doing them after, because you realize how good they make you feel. So will my future self thank me for doing this? If yes, do it. If no, don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, Let go of the guilt or feeling selfish. So lots of people say, oh, no, 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 I don't have time. And it's almost as if they're proud to say, oh, I don't do anything for myself because I'm too busy doing everything for everyone else. Or my job is too busy, or my home life is too busy, or which it is, life is busy. But you can make time. And I know that's going to annoy some people, but you can make time somewhere in your day. Like for me, it's getting up an hour or two earlier. Some people I know get up an hour or two earlier just to sit in the front room with a coffee. Again, it doesn't have to be going for a run or going to exercise. It's time for you where nobody wants anything. No one's pulling at you. No, there's no emails coming in. There's no phone calls coming in. There's no kids. It's just that time for you. So whatever that is, take that time in the morning. And again, as I was saying earlier, if that time for you makes you calmer, makes you, recharges you, you are even better at everything you do for everyone else. So let go of that guilt or feeling selfish because you're not doing anyone else any favors by not taking care of yourself. That brings me to discipline and goals. So I got this, I was just saying this actually. The things that make us happiest, are the things that take the most time. Putting in the work, staying patient, being diligent with self-control are the real tools in creating longer lasting happiness. If you want to achieve happiness, instant gratification alone just won't cut it. So things like saying, oh, I'll start tomorrow or I'll start in the new year, you're just delaying. Start now. There's no need to wait for Monday or January or, start now doing stuff for yourself every single day and notice how you feel. You're not wasting time. You're not stealing time from anything else. You're actually making yourself far, more productive at everything you do. If you have goals, of course, if you have goals, we all should have goals. We should all be aiming, what am I going to do this year? Or what am I going to do? How am I going to better myself, whether that's personally or professionally? And without discipline and self-care, you're not going to reach those goals as quickly as you want to. But again, it's not a race either. But you want to enjoy the process, and you're going to enjoy the process much better if you're taking care of yourself along the way. So techniques, like this isn't for everyone. Everyone has, like I said, different ways of preparing themselves for a session with a client. Like how could you prepare yourself and ground yourself before a session or between sessions? You could do a few minutes of meditation. You could have a cup of tea. How do you want to show up for your client? How do you want to show up emotionally? And energy reset. Acknowledge and release personal stress before stepping into the room. So in the office I used to work in, it didn't matter what was going on in my life. I thought, okay, as soon as I walk through that door, it's like a twilight zone. As soon as I walk through, I'm dropping all my baggage and leaving it outside. It can still be there when I've finished, but my client doesn't deserve me to bring this crap into the session. They need me at my best. So I'm going to leave that all behind and give my client my all. And that's so important. So it's not to say that you have to have your life sorted before you even see clients. That's not possible. It's just being able to, take your stuff out of the session and give your client everything. They're paying you to take, to help them, to advise them, to guide them. And you owe it to them to just leave your stuff. And if you can't do that, you need to take a break from seeing your clients because you can't give them what they deserve. So there's always stuff you can do when you have stuff going on in your life. And then at the end of the day, when you go back out that door, you can visualize yourself picking up all your own stuff again. It does work. It's pretty clever. So the next one, I like this one. So the way we do one thing is the way we do everything, if you think of things that way. So if you want to be a brilliant therapist, then you need to be brilliant at your self-care. Your habits and your self-care routines reflect in your professional demeanor. If we're rushed and disorganized at home, we might bring that energy into our sessions without realizing it. Your client doesn't want you rushed and disorganized. They'll pick up on it. Consistency in caring for yourself leads to consistency in how you care for others. Reflect on the small things. Are you honoring yourself in your daily life? So I've had lots of clients come in and say, oh, you must be so calm. So obviously I give off that to them somehow. And in my head, I'm thinking, you have no idea. But that's what you want your client, you want them to think you've got your shit together. Excuse my French. Because again, like I said, how are they going to trust you if you don't, if you can't control or manage your own stuff? And as I said, again, stuff is always going to come and go in life. It's managing it. It's knowing how to deal with it and knowing how to manage yourself. Your clients are going to trust you so much more when they know that you've got a handle on things. So is there any one habit that you think would make a difference to you as a person and as a therapist? One habit you'd like to improve or take on? This could be anything at all. I know some of us say, oh no, I could never be that kind of person, or I could never be this kind of person. Why couldn't you? Like I read someone's Facebook, her little line under her name, a little description about herself, and she said, "I'm the life and soul of the party type of person." And I thought, I'd love to be the life and soul of the party, but I'm not. But then I thought, why not? Why can't I be? I can decide tomorrow, from now on, I'm a life and soul and party type of person. So if there's anything you think, oh no, that's just not me, or, you know, if it's what you want, why can't it be you? Why can't you bring that into your life somehow? So if you've got any ideas, write them down for yourself. One habit or more that you'd like to improve, you'd like to be more of something. I'd like to be more bubbly and, and not take life so seriously. Okay. So the practical self-care tips and actionable strategies for daily self-care. Setting boundaries for work hours and personal time. A few years ago, when I first moved to Ireland, I obviously moved country and moved into a new house. And I started working within a month in a holistic centre that I found, as with a completely new bunch of clients. My whole life had changed. And I was answering the phone, I was answering emails late at night, and there was no start or finish time, which I think is really important for therapists. Have a start or a finish time. I don't mean when you leave your office, I mean even when you get home, whether you have a separate phone or you close your laptop. It's easier said than done, but try and have that. But anyway, I got to a point where I was so burnt out, I had to stop seeing clients. And I stopped seeing them for about 4 months. I was that burnt out because my daughter was with me as well. So she was in a new school, she was struggling, everything was up in the air. And I was thinking, oh God, now I've got to go and sort out people's problems, and I had nothing to give them. But I luckily had a job as well. I had a job in a shop in town. So I had that. And I just did that. And I built up got to know the area, got to know where I was. It took a long time. But eventually, after a while, I went back to seeing clients, but I was only doing 2 days a week or something. So boundaries and knowing when it's getting too much. Now, that's an extreme situation because I've moved to a different country. And I'd left all my family at home, my parents, my sisters, my brothers, everything was over there. But anyway, since then, as the years have gone by, I have really prioritized my own self-care. And I do make a point of trying to do everything I can, mind, body, soul, to mind myself, because I did get very ill. Was clinically depressed. I was that low. So setting boundaries, again, like I said, that's hard. Your phone beeps, you're very tempted to, open the message or book a client in. I have been known to be messaging people at 11 at night after they've messaged me, or on a Sunday, but I'm trying not to. So I can't really preach about that, because like I was saying earlier, if I feel like if I don't answer them, I might forget or whatever. Mini wellness breaks between sessions. By that I mean a break between clients, a cup of tea, look out the window, breathing, anything at all. Supervision. Does anyone get supervision here? Like, it's not
Not in the
compulsory.
formal sense that the way it's
Yeah,
normally structured, but yeah, I
it's
mean, there's two or three people that I will always refer to if I need to.
yeah, it's really helpful if you
Yeah,
have.
it's very important.
Yeah,
Personally, it was really important, but it's not in that formal way that where it's structured once a month or whatever, once a week or a
yeah,
number of sessions and all that. But it is very important that we have an outlet,
yeah,
and it's just
absolutely.
somebody that you trust.
Yeah, because if I'm talking to my husband about a tough day at work, he doesn't get it, and that's because his job is completely different. So, having a group of people, or a therapist, your own therapist or a supervisor, anything like that, someone to talk to. I suppose the therapist and supervision completely different, but a supervisor, or the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference Network, it's great to talk to people who get it. I can't tell you how great it is to talk to someone and go, oh, have you dealt with this? Have you dealt with this? And what did you do? And what did you do? And have you had a client like this? And have you had a client like this? It's so helpful. And you feel so much less alone, because often I'd sit here going, am I doing this wrong? Um, is there a boundary being crossed here with this client? Is this client asking too much? Or so it's great to sound off with other therapists. Um, yeah, so your well-being isn't optional, it's essential. So this putting ourselves last, it's not clever, it's not a badge of honor, it's not, oh, I'm too busy, it's not something we should laugh about. So your well-being is your greatest asset. So I'd love you all to view your self-care as a non-negotiable part of your practice. So, as I said earlier, you wouldn't leave your house without having a shower or brushing your teeth. Even if you were really late for work, you would say, oh my God, I still have to do this. I still have to brush my teeth before I get in the car. You squeeze in that time. And you get up earlier to make time for the shower and brushing your teeth. Otherwise, you just get out of bed and get into the car. So you've managed to carve out that time in the morning for your personal hygiene. Why can't you find a little bit of time in the morning for your self-care? Again, it doesn't have to be an hour running. It could be 10 minutes of breathing, or skincare, or anything that's for you. If you have to, schedule it into your calendar. So I've got this client at 9:30. I've got this client at 11. I've got half an hour session with myself at 12. And that's non-negotiable. And if someone wants to book in, you can't book them in because you're booked up. And you'll probably say, oh, it's only me, I can fit that person in there. Treat it like a proper client appointment. No, I can't do that time. I'm busy that time. Again, it doesn't have to be 12 in the day, whatever time works for you, but prioritize as you would a client. Acknowledge the challenges, but emphasize the rewards. So improved energy. This is, you will notice improved energy and focus and fulfillment, but it isn't always easy. It isn't always easy to do these things for yourself. So it's discipline. You've got to be strict with yourself. And remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Love that saying. So my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, is a psychologist in England. And many years ago, she said to me, "So what do you do after work? How do you kind of chill out?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "What do you do after a day of clients?" I said, "Well, I go home." She goes, "You go straight home?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I can't understand how you can go from work straight home to your family." She said, "I have to go to Tesco coffee shop every day, for half an hour, just to, you know, get rid of all the stuff she's been listening to, or, and just kind of recenter herself." And I thought that was a really, good thing to do. But again, I was more in the mindset of, oh, I've got to be here and I've got to be there. And, there's no time. There's no time for me. There's no time to. But I was only making things more stressful for myself. So, how can you decompress after your day's work? What can you do? Even if it's just 5 minutes. Because
That's
again,
even more difficult when you work from home, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, which I do now.
Yeah.
It
Just a
is.
thought. Sorry for interrupting.
No, no, I appreciate it. It's good to get the feedback, but
Yeah.
it's hard to
Yeah, it
to
is because
remember.
when you're working from home, actually, you don't have it's harder to have that routine to stop off somewhere en route or whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
So
And actually, what I do at the moment is I'll finish up with a client, I'll jump in the car, I'll go and do the school run, I'll come back, I'll start the dinner. I haven't done that, you know, clean out session. It's hard.
yeah.
And especially like when you remember the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real, what's imagined.
Yes.
When you're listening to people's traumas, which we often are, and your mind is full of that, you need to switch flip the script and change the narrative, what's going on in your mind.
Really good point.
So whatever that is, again, for you, it could be going for a walk or just standing outside and breathing for a minute, having a
Mm.
coffee, meditating, listening to a podcast, anything that, what's the, changes the state, basically.
Yeah.
So the different components of self-care, you've got your mental, physical, and emotional. So how can you take care of all three? What could you do? What works for you? What works in your life? And do you understand the importance of looking after all three? Walking 10,000 steps a day, it's so important to keep the body moving. That's another reason I love my exercises, because I've got arthritis. And when I got that diagnosis, I thought, well, I can either surrender to this and not move because I'm scared of hurting myself, or I can say, right, I'm going to go and get as strong as I possibly can, which is what I've chosen to do instead. Because I want to, and because I've got children, I've got a family, I need to take care of them. I don't want to be dropping kettles of boiling water on myself, which I have done. You know, mental wellness. We all know the importance of that. How can you mind yours? And emotional. How can you do that? One thing that's really good is journaling, but again, it takes ages sometimes, because there's a book I have called The Artist's Way. And the idea is that you write 3 A4 pages every morning. Now, I've done it before, but I haven't done it recently because it takes a long time. But you just write whatever, and the stuff that comes out is unbelievable. I remember one day saying, I have no idea what to write, so I just wrote down, I don't know what to write, and then 3 pages of A4 later, it's like I was talking my problems out in my own head and coming up with solutions. It was amazing. So writing stuff down, journaling, not even having a plan. That's the best way. Like, what do we call it in hypnosis? Free association? No, I don't know. But it's just write, brain dump, get it all out. And it has to be handwritten rather than typed because the
That's actually,
physical act of it coming out of your hands. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you're writing with your unconscious mind when you write because your words,
Yeah.
your hand and your words are not, you know, you don't think with your hand, you literally just write with your hand. So it's your hand
Yeah.
that's doing the unconscious act of letting go.
Yeah.
Just a question.
Mhm.
Cormac just asked there, the discipline part is key. What tips would you give for developing discipline for self-care when there's so many demands on all our time?
What's worked for me? Well, it, just making myself, like with the gym routine, making myself get up in the morning and after a few days knowing how much better I felt, that's obviously when the motivation kicks in. But the discipline is just, well, accountability, I suppose. Tell someone that you want to do it. Tell someone this is what I'm going to be doing. Like I hired a personal trainer and he was saying, you're going to be here at 6 every morning. And I was like, okay. So I was doing it because I thought if I don't go in, he's going to be disappointed in me. um, and he would be like, he'd be texting me going, where are you? Remember what happens when you do what needs to get done. And when you start noticing how good you feel for doing it, then it becomes easy. But remember why you're doing it. You know, it's like when you're disciplining your children, you are disciplining them because you love them at the end of the day. You want to show them how to behave, how not to behave. So I love inner child work. So I'd be saying to myself, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this to make you strong and healthy. Even though my inner child's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. I'm like, no, we're doing it. You know, I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Yeah, and of course the
Remember,
other thing,
remember why you're doing it.
yeah, the other thing you said earlier, and it might have been before people joined, was if you where you future pace it, and how are you going to feel when you've done it?
Oh yeah, maybe he missed that. Yeah, I said, so in the moment of not wanting to do something, I don't want to go, I want to stay in bed. Think of an hour in an hour's time. How are you going to feel in an hour's time if you don't go? You're going to be really disappointed in yourself. You're going to be really annoyed, and your whole day is going to take that. You know how when we think of the state you're in when you first wake up in the morning, it's a state of highly suggestible. It's almost a state of hypnosis when you first wake up.
Mm.
If you start your day that way, the whole day is going to follow in that same, oh, I let myself down this morning. And your inner child's be like, you let me down this morning, But so in that moment, how am I going to feel in an hour? If I do go, I'm going to be buzzing. I'm going to be so proud of myself. I'll have already achieved something before 7:30 in the morning. I'm going to choose that one. So think about how you're going to feel in an hour's time or 2 hours' time when you are stuck in that moment. Oh, I really don't want to do it. Those two choices. That answer the question.
I think so, yeah.
And you're never going to regret doing what you planned to do, what you wanted to do. And if you don't do it, you're always going to regret that. So why do that to yourself? Do you honor yourself enough to allow yourself to be disciplined? What message are you sending yourself if you don't? You're sending yourself a message you're not worthy, you don't deserve looking after. So how can you honor all three: mental, physical, emotional self-care for your inner child, if you like inner child stuff? How can I look after my inner me? Boundaries. So people treat you the way you allow yourself to be treated. I bring my inner child work into this as well. So I can't even think of an exact example, but say someone wants to do something and I don't want to go somewhere or something, but I don't want to let that person down. I'll say, well, does this sit right with me? Is this in alignment with what I want? And if it's not, then I won't do it. If you've made plans with someone in advance, that's different. But if someone's saying, "Oh, can we just do this today? I know you're busy, but can we just do this?" If it doesn't suit you, think of your inner child. Say, how am I letting down my inner child if I do this? If I go ahead and do this? It's hard. It's really hard because I question myself, going, "Am I just being mean? Am I being selfish? Am I going to hurt them? Should I just do it?" Boundaries, knowing when it's if it's gonna if it what's that saying? If it costs you your mental health, it's too expensive. And that can be even going to meet someone when you hadn't planned to.
Yeah.
Phone and emails, as I was saying earlier. Start and finish time. Now, maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you don't mind the phone and the emails in the evening, and that's okay. If it doesn't bother you, it's fine. Friends or clients, do you have friends who brain dump on you, ask you for advice 24/7, and always treat you like a free therapist? Put boundaries in place for them as well. That's what friendships are for, but it has to be a two-way street. So to recognize when some friends may be crossing a line. Clients, if they're ringing you out of hours, again, if that is okay with you, that's fine. But if they're expecting more of your time, where do you draw the line? Respect your work, and they will too. So this, you probably read this. I found it on Facebook. So you are holding a cup of coffee when someone comes along and bumps into you, shakes your arm, making you spill your coffee everywhere. Why did you spill the coffee? I actually did this with my husband earlier, and he went, "Because there's someone bumped into me." No, that's the wrong answer. You spilled coffee because there was coffee in your cup. Had there been water in the cup, you would have spilled water. So whatever is inside the cup is what is going to spill out. So it's your duty to make sure what is in the cup is things like this. So when life comes along and shakes you, which it will, whatever is inside you will come out. It's easy to fake it until you get rattled. So we have to ask ourselves, what is in my cup? When life gets tough, what spills over? Is it joy, gratitude, peace, and humility? Or is it anger, bitterness, blame, frustration, victim mentality, and quitting tendencies? Life provides the cup, and you choose how to fill it. Mm-hmm. And self-care helps you to do all that. And, anyone here practice gratitude?
I
And
do actually.
yeah, and I know some people think it's cheesy, but when you think about the science behind it, it's like, when they say when you buy a car, you suddenly see that car everywhere.
Yeah.
That's because that's where your attention is. So when you are being grateful, you start to be more grateful for other things because that's where your attention is. So it doesn't mean you are magically making life perfect, but you are seeing the good that is there instead of focusing on the rubbish, which is also there. But the more you focus on it, the more you'll see, the more you'll find. Your brain will, it's wired to find more of what you're looking at, and it will.
The other side of it is actually there's science behind it. That when you practice gratitude or appreciation, and it's the Institute of Heart Math in the States have done this.
Mm.
When you practice it for 3 minutes and you actually visualize, smelling that rose, whatever it is you're grateful for or appreciate, you connect your heart and brain, and they balance out. The EEG and ECG look the same, which is that flow state.
Yeah,
And that's actually scientifically proven. So,
yeah,
for people to say gratitude or appreciation, it is a bit cheesy. It's actually scientifically backed.
yeah, exactly. And you might as well. If you can choose what you're going to focus on, why wouldn't you choose to focus on something nice? You know, I know it's not always easy, and there are times when that's just not possible. When bad stuff happens, you can't be sitting there going, "Oh, it's wonderful." It's not. But where possible and where it's realistic, choose what you fill your cup with. Yeah, I said this a few minutes ago. Keeping in contact with people, friendships, spending time with people, spending time with like-minded people, spending time with other therapists and talking to them. I really need to let off some steam. I need to get some advice on this. I just want to talk. Really, really helps. And accountability partner, if you want to ask another practitioner or a friend. Can we just do this accountability thing and we'll stick to it? I was chatting to a friend yesterday on WhatsApp and I said, I could get so much work done today and I'm not doing anything. And she said, put the phone down now and I'm going to text you at 4 o'clock and ask you what you've done. And I did do more stuff because I kept thinking, oh, she's going to text me later. I better make sure I've got some stuff done. She's not going to know if I have done it or not, but it really worked. It really worked. I was like, I've got to make sure I've done what I've said I was going to do. So again, it works for some people and maybe not others, but it works for me. Do I have a freebie for you? I'll put this link in the chat. I can't copy the link. I'll
We
copy
can
the link.
share the presentation if you want, Laura, so people can pick it up.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
can
I
put
can
it on an email out to everybody as well.
Yeah. Okay. So do you sometimes find yourself stuck in a loop of ruminating, negative thinking, or self-doubt, one that feels impossible to pull yourself out of? And this workbook is for you. It also includes journaling prompts to really help you dive deep and take action. So that is more or less everything I wanted to say. Any questions or anything, or reflections, or do you think you're going to start being really good to yourselves?
Reminding me the importance of doing it anyway.
Hmm?
You're reminding me the importance of doing it.
Yeah. And again, you should be doing it for yourself, but most people can't. So do it for your clients. If you knew, like we spend so much time studying, I'm going to do this course because it'll make me a better therapist. I'm going to go to this conference because it makes me a better therapist. How about if I take some time out for myself, I'm going to be a better therapist? Because it's true. You will. When your battery is low, how can you be any good for anyone?
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. And it's about finding the tools. It's about, well, what you've basically said is it's about prioritizing yourself
Yes.
and just finding the reason for that.
Yes. Yeah. Like I just thought of a little comparison. Like you wouldn't get into a car that was falling apart.
Correct.
I don't know why that came into my head. You wouldn't trust it. So if you're falling apart, why is that okay? So your first thing, your life should be, you should be your project, basically. How can you be better in every way? And then you have the best vehicle for whatever it is you want to do in your life. Relationships, friendships, work, health, wellness. Yeah. Think of yourself as the car. I like that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone have any comments?
I can I was actually thinking about this presentation tonight, and I had a quite hectic day, and I just said, you got to fucking stop, John, here for a minute, stop." And what I wanted actually was a cigarette. So just having listened to you there, Laura, we've got to treat it like a bad habit.
Yeah.
We would make, and I have smoked, and I have made time for that cigarette in the busiest of days. And I really did want a cigarette, but fortunately there wasn't one available for me.
Oh, good.
Um, so I managed. I actually, when I get stuck like that, I actually drum.
Oh,
So I practice the rudiments of drumming,
yeah,
but I'll actually, rather than just flip off and do something, I practice specific rudiments
yeah,
to see if I can improve them,
yeah,
Um, but the other thing is meditation and going back to the gratitude, the twee of gratitude. Anyone that was ever educated in any religion, gratitude is key.
Mhm.
You're taught gratitude in every religious education.
yeah, yeah. Give thanks.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's amazing. It's common sense, not terribly common. Um, and thank you for tonight's presentation. I was looking forward to it.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
thank you.
glad now I made it. Yeah, yeah,
Thanks for coming. But like you said, logically we know, but
mm,
the logic mind isn't what drives us. Like
yes,
fundamentally, it's that
yeah,
comes after. That's a few seconds, well, a few milliseconds after the impulsive, I want the biscuit now, or I want the cigarette, or I want to stay in bed. If only we had it the other way around, the logic first. This is what I need to do.
mhm.
But
So,
did it
Laura,
work when you did the drumming thing? Did it work to
Oh yeah,
break?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a moving meditation.
Yes.
So it's rather than a silent or a static meditation, it's actually an active meditation.
Yeah.
So because I have to concentrate on getting that rudiment right or faster or whatever, I can't be thinking about all the other stuff that's
Exactly.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Right.
used to do that with cigarettes. I
Yeah.
would laboriously roll a cigarette and enjoy every puff of it.
Yeah.
Mm,
And now it's the other.
mm.
Great.
that's brilliant. Thank you, Laura. And the other thing I'm just thinking of, actually, just given the time of year that it is probably vitamin D as well to get some bloody fresh air and sunshine, or well, some fresh air while it's out there because we work from kind of 9 to 5 or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
dark outside of those. So when you
Yeah.
can, get out in the
Yeah.
fresh air.
First thing in the morning, sunlight outside, not looking out a window,
Mm,
outside. There is science behind that. I'm not too
yeah,
sure about
there is.
that.
I've heard that many times before. Yeah,
Even if
but
it's 30 seconds.
yeah. Well, they ideally recommend 15 minutes in the morning.
Yeah.
Ideally recommend 15 minutes. But
Yeah.
yeah, Vincent, you're right. We should all be in Tenerife. Yeah, we are heading there.
Oh, lovely. I'm just looking at some of the comments. Grounding, walking in nature, massage, reflexology, an hour-long bath. So Orla says I have massage booked for next week, but this is because I feel burnout looming. So often we don't do anything until the body starts screaming.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do things nicely, regularly, don't get to that point.
And actually, the other side of it is, and you've raised this a few times in the middle of this, like there is a network. So people can always do an emotional detox with each other or whatever it is. They can
Yeah.
just do a swap,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if
So
you find the
powerful.
right person to work with, just anything to help manage all our individual stresses. Because it does, if you're working on your own, it does get stressful. And then you've got on top of that, you've got ordinary life as well. Home,
Yeah.
families, other things going on outside of work. So
Yeah.
there's a balance. And we know the resources ourselves, we know what we need to do, but we also have people who are in the same position as us. So it's easy to, just have a chat with somebody and do a swap.
And just don't be afraid to ask questions to each other, because some people say, oh, I can't ask that, I'll sound whatever. But half the people in the chat are probably
Thinking
wanting
the
to say
same
the same
question.
thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
What would you do in this situation? What would you do in this situation? It doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. It's just you're looking for clarity, or don't be afraid. Just ask.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. And I think Orla did it last week in terms of she wanted clarity on something in relation to medical conditions and stuff, and the answers came. Doesn't mean she had to choose whichever one, but there was a whole array of options that were open. I know, but it was definitely it's the place in which to do that, because we're all there to support each other, and that's the other thing to say. Everybody's there to support each other.
Yeah,
This is about hypnotherapy expanding, and we do that through supporting each other first and foremost.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a supportive group. So I wouldn't be able to do this. Like, I feel comfortable doing this with this group. It's not something I would really love to do anywhere else.
You're getting more and more comfortable. You did the conference in April, and now you're doing this.
Well, there, that
There you
that
go.
that knocked a lot of worries away.
Pushing boundaries, Laura, pushing
Yeah,
boundaries.
yeah. Always push your boundaries. I think. What's
Yeah,
next? Yeah.
that's it.
What one simple takeaway from tonight is scheduling in that self-care time in the actual calendar
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that from someone else, and I thought, yeah, that's so true. And like, I've been on calls with other practitioners, and we have a monthly meeting. Um, and they said, should we have one in December? And one of the people in the group said, I'm off in December. So no, I'm not doing it in December. And I thought, it's only a meeting. You can surely turn up to a meeting. But I've got it all wrong. That's her time off. So that's it. Everything's off limits. Even a meeting that's a kind of informal chat, she won't do it. Sticks to her boundaries. That's my month off. I don't do anything. And I thought,
Yeah.
wow, yeah,
Yeah.
she's right.
Yeah, that's actually because the other thing, and I remember it was someone else pointed it out to me. One of the things that we need to do as well is market, and sometimes you don't always have. It's a bit like self-care. It's that same thing, but it's about scheduling that into your diary, scheduling that time.
Marketing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
have a
know,
day. I
yeah,
take a day to do the marketing.
yeah. I
Sometimes
do
two.
mine. I do mine on Sundays.
Yeah. I know.
Self-care out the door.
Yeah. But sometimes it's not bad. Sometimes I don't see that as work. I don't know. That's a silly thing to say because it is work. But
Well, if it takes you
Sunday
away,
is a day
well,
where I do a lot of it.
but you're right. But it is. I mean, self-care is about being okay doing what it is you're doing that allows you
Yeah.
to recharge your batteries in some shape or
Yeah.
form. You know,
Sometimes it's enjoyable. Yeah.
yeah. And there is that balance between if we don't do that, then there's a consequence to it. But it's December now. We're coming near the end of the year. It's, for me anyway, it's been a crazy year. So it's kind of like, yeah, the tiredness levels have mentally kicked in. That's where the self care is actually more important, and that's why I probably feel it like that now.
Yeah.
Um, whereas if I had been taking care of it more and more as the year went on, it would have been probably less of an issue at the moment. It's just mental fatigue. That's all it is.
Yeah. I was like that in the summer when we went to Tenerife. What Vincent was saying. I was like 2 weeks before we went, I was desperate to go. I was like, get me out of this country. I've had enough. But it should never have got to that point. I should have gone all excited. I was like, get on that plane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So note to everyone, self-care is key.
Absolutely.
It's your duty.
And there is loads of support around for everybody if you just ask for it.
Yes,
It's there.
it is. So join the Facebook group
Absolutely.
or the
Does
WhatsApp
and
group.
both.
Yeah.
Anyone have any further questions for Laura?
No, just to say thank you for putting all that extra time in to
You're
produce
welcome.
that presentation. And remind people what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Which they already know, but they're not.
Exactly. We all know there's nothing new there. It's just
Yeah.
putting it into perspective, and you're like, God, yeah, need to do this.
Yeah, thanks, Laura.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vincent. Yeah. Jackie, have you moved back yet? No?
Yes, I'm I'm over here and slowly I've still most of my clients are in the UK, but
You're not far away from me, so.
no, you kindly
Yeah,
offer
we'll have to
get together, and
organize a cup of coffee sometime.
I keep nearly writing the email and then thinking, oh, I'll just wait until I'll do that procrastination thing. I'll just wait until this, or just wait until that, or until that's changed, or whatever. But
Actually, one of my ways of self-care is I don't write emails or I don't text. I just voice note because I ring one or the other because I hate typing.
okay,
There you go. I prioritize
message got. I'll give you a
my
call.
time that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I suppose while I'm not working an awful lot over here, if anyone does want any support, I'm pretty free at the moment and happy to be a therapist anytime. It's something I've done a lot of, and I've had a wellbeing company in the UK. So all the things that Laura's talking about, I can help you get. It's those first early steps, isn't it? It's the habit formation and the in the being successful at that first piece of discipline. It's that quite often that's the difficult thing.
It's the hardest.
Getting out of your nice comfy slipper and something different. Like you say, getting up early in the morning. I bet that was quite a hard thing to crack right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more of a habit, even though you still don't really want to do it. It's now a habit and it's easier. But actually for somebody deciding to do that tomorrow, that's actually quite an initial get over, isn't it? And I do a lot of work with people in those early stages, and also with people, unfortunately, who reap the consequences of pressing that override button, because it's so easy to do that. Is to say, oh, I'll start in the new year, or I'll ignore this, or I'm tired now, it's because of this and this and this and this, but I won't be tired going into the future. But unfortunately, if you press the override button too many times, you're just running that high level of cortisol all the time, and then it starts to eat away at your physical health. And we don't want that for anybody. We really don't.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to come back from those situations.
Yeah.
So anyway, anyone want to call me or get in contact with me, I'm very, as I say, because at the moment I'm just like fiddling about with a few, not fiddling about with them, but I have a few clients in the UK. But I'm not really working much over here, but I will do later, but I'm not at the moment. So.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
I'm just a resource.
Yeah.
Becky.
Lovely.
Anyone else got anything they want to say? I'll stop the recording now at this stage because I think we've pretty much covered everything, have we?
Yeah.
Then I'm just going to thank everybody. I want to thank Laura. Laura, I'm going to put your details underneath the YouTube stuff so that anyone can contact you directly, because we probably should have put a slide up at the end of this, which I didn't do, but there you go. Just with your details. Just so
it was probably the wrong place to put it.
You put it at the beginning? That's a grant. Well, I'll put that at the end as well. You can send it to me and I'll attach it to the end. There you go.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for having me, John.
Oh, thank you for doing it. And I'm just going to start. So thank you to everybody for watching. And if you have any questions, else will be attached to this YouTube. So please contact her. And